everybody. Good morning. It's Jean here. Our block party, Jean's Block Party 2018. This is block number 15. We are 3/4 of the way through, right? Because we're doing 20 blocks. Unbelievable. Block 15. I was thinking about, what am I going to do when this is over? It's just been so much fun. This week's block is, I really like it. It's not as pretty as last week's block, but look, what do you think? This is this week's block. 2 fabrics. That's it. A background and a fairly contrasting again to make your pops, to make your quilts blocks pop. Just 2 fabrics. This week we're trying, I'm showing you a new method, and it's a flying geese. This block consists of 8 flying geese units, but we're making 4 at a time. So it's just 4 of one colorway and 4 of the opposite colorway, and that's it. That's it. So I'll be showing you the little trick to make the 4 at a time flying geese. Isn't that pretty? I like it. I have to tell you though, if you and I explain it, of course, along the way. If you tune in when I show my end block, just keep watching the video. I started making this block as I do, not knowing what the result's going to look like. And I was following a book. I won't mention the book, with a pattern, and I cut out all my fabric. And I'm making the block really precise, because I thought at the end, did I do something wrong? And the measurements were wrong. And you will see what I've done. I will show you the clip at the very end of this of me making my attempt to make this block, and you'll see me trying to. I'm trying to convince myself that, oh, it's okay. Not me. The measurement was wrong. So I had to go back, and I had to make the 1 unit bigger and trim it down, because the original instructions and the pattern had me cut it wrong. And I really was second guessing myself, like, oh no, that's okay. And sure, it was wrong. It was wrong. And fortunately, I have enough fabric that I went back and I created this second block. But I'm going to show you where I was like, oh, I'm videotaping it like I do, you know, and I'm like, oh, here's where we make our flying geese unit, and I'm going, huh? And then as I said, I'm trying to convince myself, like, oh, they won't notice. I noticed, so I did it over again, and this is it. And my measurement was right on, and theirs was wrong. What in the world? So this is our block number 15. I think it's so pretty. Yeah, I really like it. This is my background fabric. Here is a tiny little printed script. Oh no, script is written. Printed fabric. In a very pale pink and cream, but it reads as a solid. So you could either make this sort of X with this, as I say, like a butterfly in the middle. You could either make that recede or whatever your colorways are. But I just wanted to address something also. On block number, I believe it was the I believe it was block number 13. I had made this block real pretty. I love it. And this was, how did we do that? I forget. This was making half square triangles in another method. And I thought that was so pretty, and it is so pretty. I actually was so excited, like you guys probably. I laid out all my blocks. I laid them out on my kitchen floor. My floor is clean. And I was rearranging my blocks, like, oh my word, block 15. I put in there, and I took a picture, and I looked. It's too dark. Even though my fabric line had this black, I'm looking at and I thought, oh, I described it a couple weeks ago, like, oh, you want some contrast. This is a real pretty block, but this is too dark. the black, so much black, I should say. So I went back and I made my block again. And as you see, it has this sort of the twirling star. Now, I don't even know if I like this one. I think I do. When I laid it out, I redid it. When I laid it out with all my blocks, it looks really pretty. You can't, this is my new block. You can't really see the contrast as much as that, or as much as quite a few of you have sent in. I actually used pattern and pattern, but I actually like that. And when it was away, you can see the white star. I used my bright white tone-on-tone contrast. But I actually used, as opposed to this, I actually used patterns. And it's completely different. Isn't that funny how a block makes up completely different in a different colorway? But I like this because this incorporates all of my lighter tones in my fabric line. So that's my block number 13. I'm changing it up, and you might as you're going along, if you have scraps or if you have a fabric line and you're not pleased with your block, you might want to change it. Now, I'm not saying, to go out and buy more fabric or anything like that. But if, as I say, if you're using scraps, you might want to change it up, like I did. I didn't like that, even though I thought I would. It didn't go with the rest of my quilt. So anyway, that's that. Block number 15. There's again the method of making making the flying geese, and another method. I actually pressed the middle seam open, and I tell you why. You know how we always press to the dark, but I pressed that seam open, and I will show you why with the construction. And let me just see. It measures, after my initial making it, it measures my 12.5 inches. So yeah, so I like it. I think it's pretty. That's our block 15 of our week 15 of our block party. Again, tune into the very last few minutes of this video, and you'll see where it went actually wrong, and I had to redo it. So there you go, folks. Block number 15 of our block party. Keep sending me your blocks. They're unbelievably beautiful. Really, really pretty. I'm going to be having Jen on later in the week to see what her progress is. And we have a quilt show at the end of the month that we're going to, but I'll tell you all about that. So yeah, block 15. So have at it, folks. All the best. And again, thank you so much. Bye. So as you see, the block is just two fabrics, two fairly contrasting fabrics. Now this fabric here is a directional fabric, but it's real pretty. It's part of this line, and it's like pin cushions, bowl stitch, grandmother's garden, knitting, hexagons, bee, scrappy. Bobbin, patchwork. It's real sweet. It is directional, so I know with my 8 flying geese units, some of this pattern is going to be all wonky, but I'm going to use it anyway. Because why? Because from a distance, look, from a distance, it reads solid. It just reads like a pale pink, almost white. And then I have my contrasting fabric. So what we need, very simple this week, very, very simple. Our cutting instructions, they're exactly the same, the two different fabrics. We're going to need 1 7 1/4 inch of each one of the fabrics. 1 7 1/4, 1 7 1/4 inch. And then we're going to be needing 4 4-inch pieces of fabric. 4 4-inch pieces of each fabric. Simple, simple, simple. To make these no-waste flying geese units. Now I'll show you what our next, let me just reach around here, what our next step is. What we're going to do is we're going to be wanting to have opposite and then opposite. All right, and you've seen the block. But what we're going to do this week is something we've never really done on these 4-inch square units. You're going to take a ruler, and you know how sometimes we iron to find the marking? I want you now on this method to use a pen. To use your, oh, look, my pen. Truelove Quilts for you. You know, I got this pen. Isn't that a nice pen? Advertising agents send small businesses stuff. So look, Truelove Quilts for you. It lights up. It's a nice pen. I think I ordered like 100 of them one time, and I enclosed them in not this one. With my quilts when I make a quilt. But look, that lights up. Isn't that pretty? It's good advertising. Anyway, so I'm going to take my handy dandy pen and I'm going to mark it. Oh no, I didn't. I have to turn it on. Oh yeah, there you go. So I'm going to mark it diagonal from corner to corner. Nice marking, and I'm going to do that with. And let me see if I'm going to. Let me do it. I'm going to do it on. I know that the direction doesn't matter, but because they're going to be all over. But I'll do because my directional fabric. I'll do it exactly the same way. As I said, that's just me. I don't know what's going to happen. So this is my 4-inch square. I'm going to mark these units here, diagonal to diagonal, right into the corner there. And then I'm going to take my 7 1/4-inch opposite color. And what you want to do is you want to get your pins at the ready. What you're wanting to do is you're going to take you're going to take 2 squares of your opposite fabric like that. You're going to want the diagonal line right in the center there, going from the corner to the center. And you're going to pin that onto your background fabric. Of course, right sides together. You're going to take another one. And you're going to pin right on the corner. And yeah, that matches up. It's pretty good. You're just going to pin that. And you see your marked line. What you're going to do is you're going to take this over to the machine and we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch away from that marked line there. A 1/4 inch away, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. So here's my unit. I'm going to stitch slightly out there, but I can just fudge that a little bit. I'm going to put my 1/4 inch line, my 1/4 inch foot right next to that line. And very slowly, I'm stitching a 1/4 inch away from that line. When I get here, I can just sort of eyeball that. There you go. 1/4 inch line, 1/4 inch away from that line. Go nice and slow right to the corner and off. And then I keep my needle down and I just turn that around, loosening my fabric slightly. And then I just put my presser foot right along that 1/4 inch sewing line where I'm going to sew. Oops. Oh, that shouldn't happen. my thread got caught. So now I'll just stitch next to that line 1/4 inch. And this one, there you go. Nice straight line. And then right off. And then I'll show you what we do next. I'll take my pins out. I've sewn on that line. Next to the line, 1/4 inch. Now what I'm going to do very carefully, with a sharp blade, I did my blade, look at that. With a sharp, lovely blade, you're going to cut right on that line. That got a little bit wonky there, but I'm just going from diagonal to diagonal and on that line. And I can see that my stitching is fine. It's right, my ruler is right in the middle of that line there. And I'm going to just slice that. Oh, it's lovely having a sharp blade. And then this is what we're going to end up with. Okay, we're going to end up with a unit that looks like that. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and I'm going to iron this. And this one, I'm going to set the seam, and then even if this is light, which that one will be, I want to press up. I want to press these here, I want to press them into the larger piece. So I have two exact pieces. I'm just going to press them, and I'm just going to come back, having set my seam, and iron them up away from these points. Now I have these two exact units here with the points down here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just set them like that. I'm going to take my remaining two pieces that have been marked, and I'm going to put that diagonal line right it from corner to corner, letting it hang over. I'm going to make that nice and square. Putting my pins in. And then I'm going to go over to my machine and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to stitch 1/4 of an inch away from this marked line on both of my units, just like I did. And I'll be back and I'll show you what we come up with. So I've stitched along the line 1/4 of an inch. I've stitched next to the line, 1/4 of an inch. And just like before, I'm going to take my ruler and my nice sharp rotary cutter, and I'm going to cut along my marked line. Slice that through. I'm going to do it on both units. I'm going to cut the line. And what do we end up with? We end up with a lovely flying geese unit. We end up with a nice flying geese unit here. So I'm going to, it has a nice, a little bit more than 1/4 inch seam, but that's okay, because I want to tell you what happened. I want to tell you what happened. I'm really thrilled with that flying geese unit, okay? I can trim that off. I can trim these little dog ears off, and it's just lovely. You see that? Let me just reach over here. I'm going to finish making this one here. I just wanted to show you. I was following a pattern. And this was my first attempt at this pattern. I wasn't going to do a practice block. I did an actual block. And I followed the pattern, and you see I have if you know my colorways in my sampler quilt blocks, it's this, I have a green and I have this sort of the same fabric in black and white. So it reads sort of green and white, right? It reads green and white. I followed the pattern to a T, and look, my points, every single one, there's no seam allowance. Now the pattern called, do you see that? The pattern that I was following on every single unit called for, and I cut it good, called for me to cut these 7 1/4, which I did, and these to cut 3 7/8. And to prove what I did, I want to show you this. I actually had, when I was doing my cutting instructions for this block, I actually had, okay folks, cut 4 3 7/8 inch of each color. Cut 4 3 7/8 inch. I then proceeded to make the block really well. My 1/4 inch, I set my seams, and every single point is cut off. So I just think that's interesting. Look at that, every single point. So I don't know what I did. Look, every single point. I matched it up, I sewed it, I marked it properly. Every single point. That one's slightly okay, but it's only like a 1/16 of an inch. So this is a waste. So I come back, I'm a little bit bummed about that, but I learned. Making flying geese units, so what I'm doing now, what did I tell you to do? Oh, I sliced it a little bit there. It'll be okay, it'll be in the seam. I told you to make these 4 inches. And look at our nice seam. There's no way when we put this block together that point will be cut off. If I was using this and did a 1/4 inch seam, that point, hopefully you can see that, that point would have been, well, it's not even in the seam. So isn't that interesting about patterns? So I jiggery pokered it, and I'm thinking, okay, I'll cut these bigger. I'll cut this bigger. Now I am going to trim that off, and I'll probably, once I get them all done, because I don't want to trim them down too much, I'm going to iron them really nice. I want a nice straight line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go along and I'm just going to trim that, just so it's 1/4 of an inch. Just take that off, because this is a little bit too big. The 4 inches you will find is slightly big, but I'm showing you so you don't waste fabric like I did. To err on the larger side, you can always trim down. You can't add. You can't add. So my 3 7/8, which is according to a pattern, is wrong. So I've done it 4 inches for you folks. So you see that? I've done it 4 inches. So hopefully, you know, we'll learn from my mistake. My points are perfect. And then I can trim these up. I can trim my dog ears away. And I can trim that up nice and rectangle. And then we'll put our block together. So what? So I'm pleased that I'm not pleased that I made a mistake. I wasted all this stinking fabric. But isn't that interesting? I just think that's fascinating. I'm okay with it because I have lots of fabric. But like, that's a bummer. If like you guys were like, oh, okay, I'll do 3 7/8, and you were following this pattern in particular. It's a good book, whatever. I did it really good, and it's not good. Every single one. So at first I'm thinking, ooh, should I have done it a scant 1/4 of an inch? Well, then I tried that. I actually tried that on the next. It happened to the first 4, and I tried it on the next one. It didn't make an ounce of difference. So then I came back to the drawing board. I have that on video. I'm not going to show it to you. I'm just showing you now what happened. But this was going to be my original block. So forget that. We did 4 inches and 7 1/4, and you're going to have 8 lovely flying geese, nice flying geese. So now I'm not going to waffle on anymore. I'm going to put these together just as I did this one. My 7 1/4, my 4 inch, right? I'm going to draw my line here. I'm going to make my line from there to there, right sides together, there to there, cut, you know, sew, cut, and then I'll make my units. And I'll be back and we'll be putting the block together. But I just thought I wanted to show you that. Not my mistake really, but live and learn. So I'll be back. I've sewn these units together and these units together. Now I just wanted to show you real quick what I meant about trimming them up, because they're a little bit large. These 4 have been trimmed up beautifully. As you see, these haven't been, and there's all sorts of raggedy dog ears, and this is a little bit large. So what I'm going to do is I'm finding my 1/4 inch line with my ruler, and we want to stitch a 1/4 inch. We want to have a 1/4 inch away from that point, correct? But just to err on the cautious side, that would be a 1/4 inch. I would line up my ruler here along my board so it's nice and straight. Now there's my 1/4 inch onto the top of the point. And then see how much bigger it is. So I would trim that. I err on the just a little bit larger. Just so I'm guaranteed that my point, just a hair larger, will be nice and my point will be tucked right in that seam there. So now I'm going to cut that off, and there's my finished seam there. Now I'm going to come around, and I just want to make sure it's nice and square, so it's pretty, and get rid of some of these tangles here, and then rectangle I should say, and get the dog ears, trim off the dog ears. And there's my nice trimmed up block there. 1, 2. Now I'm just going to finish, and it's just a little sliver, but it makes the world of difference. This would be okay in a seam, but it would just be a little bit bulky. So again, you see, there's my 1/4 inch line. I'll just put it a hair above, keeping everything nice and straight, and then just trim off that excess. And then I trim up my sides here, because we want a nice rectangle. And then make that nice and straight, cutting off my dog ears. So I'll finish this block up here. My 1/4 inch, a little tiny bit above, line up my ruler just slightly above. Whoops, don't joggle it. Make sure that's lovely and straight. My dog ear. Oops, bottom straight. Just make sure that this is straight here. So there are my 8 fairly perfect flying geese units. Now we're going to put our blocks together, our block together. So what we want to do with the darker bit, well, you have seen the block. Let me just see. We put the 2 dark next to each other like that, and then we take our white flying geese and we put it like this. Remember the secondary pattern that we're making. Then we put that with the white there, and then we do opposite. Do opposite like that, 1/4 inch. So these will match this point here, or this point will match there when we go to sew it. And then we do, just move this up here. Just move that there. 1/4 inch. Move that there, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. Oh, you get the message. When then we put it together, we'll match everything up, and hopefully it will match to 12.5 inches. So then our bottom ones go opposite. Bottom ones go like that, and there, folks, is our beautiful block. Isn't it pretty? Oh, I think it's so lovely. Once it's all nice and sewn together. So yeah, I love it. I think it's really, really pretty. You need, as a high contrast, just 2 fabrics, and eight as it were, together. So now we're just going to construct this in rows, okay? Being very careful, we're going to add this to this one, just like we do, like that, and then we're going to add, making sure you don't cut off, making sure you nest these seams here, this seam here. We're going to put this unit to there, this unit to there, and then stitch that down the middle and do the same exact thing there, and then we'll put the 3 rows together. I've sewn my top, my bottom, and my middle 2 units together. Now I'm going to put them together. I've taken them over and I've ironed them. These, and you see my points, are perfect. My points are perfect. Wow, that little bit more, wow. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this together here, and I sew it obviously so I can see where my intersection is for my point on each side. I pin that. I've taken it over to my machine, next to my machine, and you want to get, let me just grab my pins here. You want to make it so maybe on either side of that point, or put a pin in that point. You want to get those 2 points together, real nice. We've done this before. You've matched up points, but I just wanted to show you something also. So I'm going to sew that final seam now, and I'm going to press that. Now I just wanted to show you. We always, this is our 15th block, and 14 blocks, press to the dark side, or press where the fabric tells you. In this case, on this block, I have found what I have done. If you can see, I have pressed this seam open. I have pressed this seam open here. So and I will probably, because this is a bulk here, so I will press this seam open. When I stitch it, I will press these center seams, one to one side, one to the other. That is because that's a lot of bulk. That's a lot of bulk in here, right there. That's a tremendous amount of bulk, and it's a whole bunch of bulk on one side and not a lot on the other. So I'm going to even it out this time, and I've pressed this seam here open, and I've pressed that seam there open, and when I construct this seam, I'll press that seam open too. So then when I go to nest, or when I go to match those seams, it will be much easier to match those seams because one will be on one side and one will be on the other. When we press to one side, as a general rule in quilting, that it's absolutely fine. But in this case, that's what I want to do. So now I'm going to go over and I'm going to sew this seam so my points are matching perfect. I'm going to press this seam open, and then I'm going to construct my block by matching this seam open to that open seam to that open seam. And then our block, hopefully, we'll measure 12 and a quarter. I mean, 12 and a half inches. So we shall see. My block is finished. Look at that. Look at that. It's an interesting block. It's really cool. And look, quarter inch, quarter inch, quarter inch, quarter inch, quarter inch. It's almost quarter inch and quarter inch and quarter inch. And my points matched up perfectly because I erred on the a larger side and then trim down. And as you can see, some of this script is going this way and some of it's going this way. Actually, this one is interesting. This is going right across, so that's interesting. But again, it reads just pale pink. You have to really be up close. And look at that, my handy dandy 12.5-inch ruler. Look at that. Look at that. Might have to just slightly trim it down, maybe just a hair on that side, literally just a hair. But 12.5 inches. Wow. Interesting block. I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Two fabrics. Two sizes, 7 1/4 and 4 inches. 4 inches, not 3 7/8. Wow. It's really cool. I'm trying to think what it looks like. This sort of looks like a butterfly with a lovely not a cross, an X. Real pretty. Real pretty. I love it. Yeah, so there you go, block 15. Oh, I wanted to show you. You see that? I ironed this seam open. My back looks just as nice, but I ironed that seam and that seam and that seam. So there's not a tremendous amount of bulk. It just sits really nice. And again, you see how nice and flat my block is? Starch, spritz, water, iron, press, each unit, and you get that lovely flat block. So there you go, folks, block 15. I'm thrilled. We are 3/4 of the way done. Unbelievable. Block 15. I hope you love it, and I hope you have success with this no waste 4 at a time flying geese unit. All right, let me just keep this up for just a few seconds so you can get that configuration. Okay, thanks, folks. So here are my units that I've just sewn. I'll take my pins out. And then just like we did the other one, with a nice sharp rotary cutter, you people who don't have sharp blades, shame on you. And right on that line, my ruler is right on that line. Oh, look at that, it goes like butter. Why didn't I get that done before? So now, just going to do 2 of them. And this is like the magical part. Look. Ta-da! Perfect. Not quite so perfect. Oh, not so perfect at all. What the heck? No, I'm going to cut my point off. Well, that one's okay. Ah, geez. No, it didn't really work. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? It's sort of like cut that off.
Who cares? What a terrible teacher I am. No, I'm okay. I'll just cut that point off. I don't know what happened. What happened? It should make 4. This one's pretty okay. And this one's just okay. But like I did it the proper way. I'll just be able to. I'm just going to literally. I have to just cut that little point off because I don't fancy doing it over again. And wait, this one is. Let me see. Oh, it's fairly nice and square, nice and rectangle. Yeah. Well, anyway. Oh, maybe I should have just cut these a little bit bigger and trimmed them down. I think I had that problem before. But I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. It's not, that sort of stinks. I don't want to cut any more fabric because I'm wasting fabric. So, guess what? Block number 15, I'm going to have some cut off points. I don't know what happened there. Follow the instructions real good. Maybe I should have done it a scant 1/4 of an inch. Okay, I'm doing this a 1/4 of an inch. Maybe I should have done it a scant 1/4 of an inch. So maybe, yes, okay, folks, you're wanting to do that a scant 1/4 of an inch. Remember I was saying just that 1 or 2 threads will make the world of difference, because that's literally what it is, 1 or 2 threads. Anyway, I'm going to try, maybe I'll do the scant 1/4 of an inch on this one. So I may do that over. I might not you might not even see that. Probably will. So, okay, folks, so here we are. I don't know what happened. I'm following a pattern there. I'm doing it really nice. I'm marking it. I think it's the marking. I never mark anything. Oops. Oh, it didn't go. Don't buy these lousy pens. Oh, no, there we go. Okay, so I'm marking these ones. And this, of course, the goal here is to make 8 flying geese units. All right. I make flying geese units the other way, but I've done this before, and it worked really nice. And you see, you don't waste anything. People don't like to waste stuff. I get that. And it's other than like a thread or 2 off, they turned out fabulous. So here we go. So I'm going to put, how do I do that? Oh yeah. So I'm going to go and try to do this lot here. And now I'm going to do this a scant 1/4 of an inch. Remember, not quite a 1/4 of an inch, just a little bit less than a 1/4 of an inch. And let's see how these turn out, so I can tell you when you sew these together, do a scant 1/4 of an inch, and then you won't mess up like I did. So I'm going to go over and sew that and construct it and see what I come up with.